Jai Sri Krishna. Hello. Let's start discussion on very important topic, that is AML CFT roles and responsibilities of the local and the global regulators. What are the roles and responsibilities taken by the regulator and how they define the masters to do and to prevent the money launderers or the terrorist financing things. So what are the roles and responsibilities of the regulators in that? So like in India, RBI and the SEBI and the financial intelligence units, the financial crime enforcement network. So what are their roles and responsibilities towards that? So let's discuss. So let's first I'll give you the agenda of that seminars. So first one, I'll introduction you to the local and the regulatory bodies, the roles and responsibilities, and then I'll discuss the what are the roles and responsibilities of Reserve Bank of India, which is a central bank of India, and then the Security Exchange Board of India, what are their roles and responsibilities into the anti-money laundering and counter of the terrorist financing, and then the uh, Financial Crime Enforcement Network, and then the Financial Conduct Authority, what are their roles and responsibilities, and then we will conclude the importance of the regulators. So let's start a discussion on this topic step by step. So let's the introduction to the role of local regulators. So what are the role of local regulators? So these, they will do implement the global standard and they create their own standard as per the requirement of their country. So the local regulator are responsible for implementing and the supervising and enforcement international standards set by the bodies like the Basel Committee or the Financial Action Task Force or other regulatory bodies. They have to sanction list or even body that define some rules, set rules and regulation. How can we prevent or how can we identify the financial crime in the banking or in the financial sector or in the BFI sector? So they define their rules and regulation. On that basis, the regulator can modify or update these rules and regulation and can take as it is these rules and regulation and enforce to their bank or their the banking industry or the BFSI industry, or to utilize that rules and regulation in their the while they are onboarding customer or while the customer doing their transactions to. So that will help us to identify the fraudulent customer or the fraudulent transaction in their the transactions system. So it is an the crucial intermediary. They act as a vital link in the global fight against the money laundering and the financing of terrorism. So these are the very crucial intermediary and help us the uh, genuine customer to keep away from the fraudulent or the criminals while criminal activity will happens. So the area which we are focused in these videos, and we will discussion on the roles and responsibilities like the Reserve Bank of India and the Security Exchange Board of India, then the Financial Crime Enforcement Network and the Financial Conduct Authority. So we will discuss on these areas in this slide. So let's start discussion on the roles and responsibilities of Reserve Bank of India, which we also called as a RBI. So what are the key roles are the RBI? So issue the mandatory master directions for the banking sector. So they will issue the notes, what are the regulations or what are the rules or the business logic they are fit there in the payment screening system or the name screening system or the sanction screening system or the transaction monitoring system. What are the master directives they should feed and how they will done? What are the the step by step process they will provide to the banks and entire the banking industry in India, and conduct the regulator inspections and audit. They will continuously conduct the audit with each bank and identify their the performance of the monitoring and the client onboarding process, and what are the techniques they follow, how they identify the fraudulent transaction in their system, and they, if they find, they suggest some suggestions to that bank, and if they find some fraudulent, and they may apply the penalties on that one, like, and mandate the comprehensive customer due diligence, and they check what are the mandate they are the comprehensive customer due diligence, what are approach they follow rules based, rule based, so they can understand this thing and require the continuous transaction monitoring system. The enforcement banks, to they have the continuous transactions monitoring system and key responsibilities to prevent the misuse of the banking system. Yeah, this is the most important. So the criminal can clean their money or transact their fund to the criminals. So they make sure that the banking system is a clean and it is not misused by the criminals, and enforce the compliance and impose the penalties to the banks or the BFSI sector industries if they allow the criminals to use use their banking system, and facilitate the suspicious transaction reporting to FUI. So they will facilitate and they will be the part of to file the suspicious transactions report to financial intelligence units of India. So these are the roles and responsibilities of Reserve Bank of India. So let's move on the next slide. That is the Security Exchange Board of India, which we call the SEBI. So what are the key roles of this SEBI in that the anti-money laundering and counter financing terrorism? So frame the market specific guideline for the intermediaries. So what are the intermediaries in the Security Exchange Board of India or the Security Stock Exchange? So they define some guidelines and intermediaries for such bodies to work, how they work, and they protect the investors and market integrity. They make sure that they need to protect the funds of the investor and they are the clean earning money, and require the risk based approach. They for the clients they define the risk based approach. So medium risk customer, high risk customer, or the low risk customer, on that basis of their the KYC document or their earning profile or the PIP person, and they use the surveillance to detect the suspicious activities. So they use the different techniques to detect the suspicious activity in the security exchange or in the the stock exchange market, so investment or the broking market. So they are the regulator in the broking sector, and the key responsibilities of the Security Exchange Board of India in that field is mandate the KYC and the customer due diligence and record keeping each thing. So they will do is the broker or is the the NSC or all the parties involved in that thing, they do the accurately know your customer thing and the customer due diligence, and they will perfectly keep the records and to do the transaction monitoring system, and they are not allowed to do the suspicious person to do the buy or sell the stocks and the mutual funds or the fixed income product. So ensure the intermediary fulfill the reporting obligations and promote the awareness and training of financial crime. So that's the make sure by the Security Exchange Board of India. So let's move on the next slide. That is a financial crime reinforcement network. So what are the roles and responsibilities of financial crime reinforcement network? So administrating the fundamentals, the BSI sector. So they are the banking act for that and to apply that in the market. So fundamental has a US financial intelligence. So these are regulatory body work under the USA, and the disseminated the financial data and the law enforcement. So they will able to the financial data and the law enforcement responsibility and can improve the civil mandatory penalties for the non-compliance. So whatever the banking or the BFSI industry are not the to do the the non-compliance and they not follow the rules and regulation which are defined by the financial crime and enforcement network, so they will apply the penalties on that. And the key roles and key responsibilities of these the regulator are to receive and analyze the financial data in the form of suspicious activity report or the suspicious transactions report or the cash transaction report, and aid law enforcement in investigation and the prosecutions they will do, and provide the guidelines and alert to new risks they identify. So they have the same regulator bodies, they can identify new risks in the market and they will apply and they provide the guidelines how to tackle these rules, what are the techniques and tools used to tackle these rules. So they will provide such a guidelines also the banking. So let's discuss on next regulator, that is the Financial Conduct Authority. So we also called as FCA. So what are the key roles of these the regulatory bodies? So supervise a firm to prevent the financial crime. So they will identify where the financial crime will happen and to supervise and to give them the appropriate way how to eliminate that the financial crime and how to identify the criminals in that the financial crime. So enforcement in UK money laundering regulations, they enforce and increase the UK. These are the body is the UK, and they enforce the money laundering laws and regulations in the UK and publish the financial crime guide for the best practices for the banks and the exchange bodies, so they can involve and adopt the data led and risk based approach to supervision. So they help to bank to adopt the risk based approach to identify the criminals in their the area. So these are the responsibilities of the FCA. Let's discuss on the key responsibilities of FCA. So hold a firm accountable for their anti-money laundering compliance control and to check and to do the audits on that firms and investigate and prospect a non-compliant firm and to do the penalties, identify the firms which are not compliant to the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing, and the firm which allow the terrorists to do their financial transaction and to perform their illicit activity, to identify such firms and work with the international partner to share the intelligence. They are working and they conduct the seminars with the international partners and protect the consumers and market integrity, and they make sure that the customer funds or the consumer funds are the safe and the clean hands and the clean bank, and they transact with the clean banking system. So these are the four regulatory bodies. So let's concludes and the importance of the regulators. Why the regulator are important and what are the roles and responsibilities of regulator in the field of anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing? The regulator are fundamental to the global AML and CFT frameworks, and they are the bodies. They are centralized bodies that can define the centralized level rules and regulations that will bank need to follow, and they have some laws or they have some threshold values that need to bank follow, and bank make sure they and created the internal the threshold also, and they will approve by the regulators, and they translate the international standard into the local and enforcement rule, and they will do the analysis and the international level and apply on the local level these rules and regulation in the anti-money laundering and the counter-terrorist financing. And each regulator use a proactive intelligent driven approach to combat the financial crime and to eliminate the financial crime, and their combined effort ensure the integrity and stability of the global standard system and the global financial system. So we will identify the criminals and the financial criminals, and we are not allowed to do the transactions to the terrorists and the sanctions country or the sanctions person or the sanctions entity. So that makes sure and the financial industry or the banking system is the performing in the illegal activity, and the criminals are not able to use the banking system. So these are the regulation and guidelines prepared by the regulators. So these are the end of that slides. If you like my efforts and my videos, please guys do like and subscribe my channel, so that will motivate me to create more and more such videos for you, so you can learn the new techniques and new laws in do the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing and the business analyst field. So thank you so much once again. Thanks, guys.